Ever had one of those moments where you question whether you're the sane one or if everyone else has lost the plot? gnarls-barkley-crazy is a mirror held up to that exact feeling. What if crazy isn't what we've been taught to fear, but something far more human? Let's break it down, not just the lyrics, but the raw, relatable truth behind them. Because sometimes the most insane thing you can do is pretend everything makes sense when it doesn't. In the first verse, the lyrics explore the idea of losing one's mind in a way that feels almost liberating rather than purely negative. The opening line, "I remember when I lost my mind," suggests a moment of breaking away from conventional thinking or sanity, but instead of fear, there's a sense of nostalgia. The phrase, "something so pleasant about that place," implies that this mental state, possibly madness or extreme detachment, wasn't entirely distressing. It might represent a freedom from societal expectations where the usual rules no longer apply. The next line, "even your emotions have an echo in so much space," could symbolize how emotions feel amplified or distorted when you're in an unstable mental state. The echo might mean feelings linger longer or repeat uncontrollably, while so much space could refer to the vast, isolating nature of the mind when unmoored from reality. It paints a picture of being untethered, where emotions don't behave as they normally would. They bounce around unpredictably. The last few lines shift to a more self aware reflection. "When you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch," suggests a disconnect from others, but not necessarily in an ignorant way. The narrator clarifies that this wasn't due to a lack of understanding. It wasn't because I didn't know enough, but rather because they knew too much. This could mean that overthinking or seeing too deeply into life's complexities led to their breakdown. It's almost as if awareness itself became overwhelming, making detachment the only escape. Overall, the verse plays with the idea that craziness isn't just about losing control. It can also be a strange kind of clarity or a retreat from a world that feels too intense. The lyrics blur the line between sanity and insanity, suggesting that sometimes what looks like madness from the outside might actually make sense to the person experiencing it. The first chorus is deceptively simple but carries a lot of weight in just a few lines. The repetition of "does that make me crazy?" feels like a self questioning loop, as if the narrator is stuck in their own head trying to figure out whether their thoughts or actions actually qualify as madness. It's not a statement, it's a question, which makes it more uncertain and introspective. They're not declaring themselves insane. They are genuinely wondering if others would see them that way. The word "that" is important because it's vague. It could refer to anything from the detachment described in the verse to simply feeling different from everyone else. This ambiguity lets listeners project their own experiences onto the song. Maybe that is overthinking, maybe it's seeing the world differently, or maybe it's just not fitting in. The lack of specificity makes the question universal. Almost everyone has wondered at some point if their thoughts or feelings are normal or if they're crossing into something society would label as crazy. The final line, "possibly," is a brilliant understatement. Instead of a firm yes or no, it leaves the answer open ended, almost shrugging at the idea. This suggests that the narrator isn't entirely convinced that crazy is the right label, or maybe they don't even care. There's a hint of defiance in that uncertainty, as if to say, call me crazy if you want, but I'm not so sure it's a bad thing. It turns the chorus from just self doubt into something more playful and rebellious, challenging the very definition of what crazy even means. Overall, the chorus captures the tension between self doubt and self acceptance. It's a reflection on how society judges mental states and how those judgments can feel arbitrary. By leaving the question unanswered, the song invites listeners to question their own assumptions about sanity and madness, making it way deeper than just a catchy hook. Verse 2 takes a sharp turn from introspection to a more confrontational, almost sarcastic tone. The opening line, "And I hope that you are having the time of your life," sounds polite on the surface, but there's an edge to it. It feels like the kind of thing you'd say to someone who's blissfully unaware of their own flaws, a backhanded well wish that hints at impending reality. The follow up, "but think twice, that's my only advice," suggests that their happiness might be naive or built on shaky ground. It's a warning wrapped in fake cheer, like the narrator knows something the other person doesn't. Then comes the real punch. Who do you think you are?" The repetition makes it sound like an accusation, almost mocking the listener, or whoever the song is directed at, for acting self important or delusional. It's a challenge to their ego, implying they're not as in charge as they believe. The laugh, "ha ha ha," and the phrase, "bless your soul," add a layer of condescension. It's the kind of thing you'd say to someone who's embarrassingly overconfident, like they're a child pretending to be an adult. The final line, "you really think you're in control," drives the point home. It's a direct attack on the illusion of control, a theme that ties back to the song's broader exploration of sanity and perception. The narrator, who's already admitted to losing their mind, is now calling out others for their own blind spots. It's as if they're saying, "You judge me as crazy, but you're just as deluded. You just don't realize it yet." The verse flips the script, suggesting that what society calls crazy might actually be a clearer, more honest way of seeing the world. Overall, this verse shifts from self reflection to social commentary, pointing out the hypocrisy of people who act like they've got everything figured out. It's a reminder that nobody's truly in control, and the confidence we project is often just a performance. The narrator, despite their admitted instability, comes off as the one who sees through the act, making crazy seem like the sanest place to be. The second chorus flips the script from self doubt to a bold accusation, turning the mirror back on the listener, or perhaps society at large. When the narrator declares, "I think you're crazy," it's a direct response to the judgment they've likely faced themselves. It's no longer a question, "Does that make me crazy?" but a statement, almost like a challenge. By repeating the line 3 times, it mimics the way people might label others without thinking, hammering home how casually we throw around words like crazy to dismiss those who don't fit the norm. The genius of this chorus lies in the last line, "just like me." Suddenly, the divide between sane and insane collapses. The narrator isn't just calling out hypocrisy, they're creating solidarity. It's as if they're saying, "You think I'm the messed up one? Look in the mirror. We're all a little unhinged." This reframes craziness not as a flaw, but as a universal human trait. The tone here isn't angry or defensive. It's almost playful, like sharing an inside joke about the absurdity of pretending anyone is truly normal. What makes this chorus so powerful is its subversion of power dynamics. Society often treats crazy as something to ostracize or fear, but here it becomes a leveling force. By including the listener in the label, the song removes the stigma. If everyone's crazy, then no one is. It's a rebellious embrace of the irrational, suggesting that maybe the real insanity is believing we're always in control or perfectly rational. In the end, the chorus doesn't just defend the narrator's state of mind, it implicates us all, turning alienation into connection. In verse 3, the lyrics take a darker, more existential turn by exploring the allure of self destruction and the romanticization of living on the edge. The opening line, "My heroes had the heart to lose their lives out on the limb," suggests that the narrator idolizes figures who lived recklessly or paid the ultimate price for their passions. These heroes could be artists, rebels, or even tragic legends who burned out young. The phrase "out on the limb" evokes both risk and isolation, painting a picture of people who dared greatly but also teetered on their edge of collapse. The narrator admits, "All I remember is thinking I want to be like them," revealing how deeply this idealization has shaped their own desires, even if it's a dangerous path. The repetition of "ever since I was little, it looked like fun" is haunting because it ties self destructive tendencies to childhood innocence. Kids often see danger as thrilling before they grasp the consequences, and the narrator seems stuck in that naive mindset, still drawn to the fun of chaos despite knowing better. It's a commentary on how society glamorizes rebellion and tragedy. Think of rock stars who die young or artists tormented by their genius, and how that narrative can warp someone's sense of purpose. The closing lines, "and it's no coincidence I've come, and I can die when I'm done," hint at a fatalistic acceptance. The narrator suggests their path was inevitable, no coincidence, as if their fate was sealed by their admiration for those wild, doomed heroes. The phrase, "I can die when I'm done," is chillingly resigned, implying they'll keep living this way until it kills them, as if their life is a performance with a predetermined end. It's not necessarily suicidal, but more like a pact with their own chaos, a willingness to push limits until there's nothing left. This verse digs into the darker side of craziness, not just as a state of mind, but as a lifestyle that courts disaster. It questions why we romanticize those who destroy themselves and why some people feel drawn to that same edge. There's a tragic irony here. The narrator recognizes the danger, but still sees it as the only way to be truly alive, blurring the line between living fully and dying young. It's a raw look at how inspiration can twist into self sabotage and how the things we admire can sometimes destroy us. The third chorus serves as both a resolution and a philosophical shrug, wrapping up the song's central theme with a tone of amused acceptance. By shifting back to "maybe I'm crazy," after previously insisting, "I think you're crazy," the narrator reintroduces doubt, but this time it's less anxious and more playful. The word "maybe" softens the earlier defiance, suggesting they're no longer trying to prove a point, but instead embracing uncertainty. When they extend it to "maybe you're crazy," it feels less like an accusation and more like an invitation to join them in questioning what normal even means. The line, Maybe We're Crazy is where the song's message truly crystallizes. It's a collective admission breaking down the us versus them dynamic that often surrounds mental health and societal norms. The narrator isn't just placing themselves outside of conventional thinking, they are pulling everyone into the gray area with them. This communal we suggests that sanity is a spectrum, not a binary, and that everyone has moments of irrationality or instability. It's a radical act of normalization, making crazy something universal rather than alienating. The final probably lands with a wink. It's not a definitive answer, but a tongue in cheek surrender to the absurdity of the debate. There's a dark humor here, as if the narrator is saying, "Of course, we're all a little crazy. Why are we even pretending otherwise?" It undercuts the seriousness of the question while still acknowledging its truth. This chorus ultimately reframes craziness as an intrinsic part of the human experience, something to acknowledge rather than fear or judge. By ending on this note, the song leaves us with a liberating idea. If everyone's probably crazy, then maybe it's okay to stop worrying about fitting in and just embrace our messy, imperfect selves.